You know, me, it would actually be helpful if I don't know, turned on the volume on the backup feed. There we go. So, it ends today, I guess. Or mostly today, I should say. Nakamura! My name is Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist immature, and we're back with 9 hours, 9 doors, 9 persons. I also need to figure out where I put my cliff notes. Actually, I don't think I had cliff notes. Wow, I was thoroughly underprepared. Okay, fine. So in that case, puzzle out the blue, square that. 0, 2, 6, 3. Yeah, what we're currently doing right now is we're trekking through some of the story, gonna get that last ending. If I remember correctly, there is a little extra if you go down another route. I don't fully remember if that's the case, so in the worst case, we'll try to do that after. But at least for right now, it's going to be a matter of doing all the events that we've done to get the coffin ending, now that we have all the information that we've got. And so I can remember which directions were the coffin ending. There we go. That. So it should be 7, 4, 8, 5. That sells that. Take these, and get out of here. Yeah, I will. One of the things that I do need to do, I need to apologize, because the entirety of July and June have been stupid rough on me, and I've pretty much been in siege mode ever since. If you've noticed a lot of schedule slips where I've been streaming only 1 day a week, it's mostly because in the first 2 weeks I was getting some work licenses, then in another week within July I want to spend time with family, you know, give myself a mental health break, and yeah. I've always been a proponent that a streamer should take regular breaks for themselves, because at the end of the day, streaming it's fun, don't get me wrong, but it can also be very stressful. And if you're not taking healthy breaks to decompress and give yourself nothing to think about, then that's when the problems start to arise. I've seen it happen with a lot of different streamers, from tinier ones like RT, like my friend RT, to larger ones like Mega G Wolf. Time and again, it's when a streamer overextends and goes too far and doesn't give themselves a break that the problems start to arise and their mind starts to decay. Me, I want to try to avoid that as much as possible. It's one of the big reasons why, if I do have a full-time stream schedule, it's probably going to be only like 3 days a week. Specifically because it's healthy to take breaks. And at that, I'm also not doing that right now, because current job is actually really stressful. Again, I wear this on my sleeve. I work in drug recovery, so the people I work with are fairly stressful. I love the staff that I get to work with, but even still, at the end of the day, we're dealing with sick people, and sick people can be hard to talk with, let alone reason with. Actually, we had an instance where a person, for the past couple of weeks, they've been trying to get something done for their feet, but our specific location tries to avoid that type of thing, specifically because, one, we're transitionary housing. We're meant to hold a person for as long as it takes for them to get to the next level of care below us. Because at that level, they can do things like help with a doctor, get you insurance, etc., etc. Us, we're supposed to be a revolving door, and if we're not, then we're doing something wrong. At the end of it, the thing that they want to get done for their feet may involve a surgery, and if it does involve a surgery, then it's better for the guy to handle it at the next level of care, as opposed to with us, one. And two, we're not convinced that there is something wrong with his feet, really, because he's insisting on it a little too hard, even after we show reason and say, yeah, dude, you shouldn't be focusing on this right now. There are bigger things to worry about, like your drug recovery. And two, he's reporting that the problem is symmetrical, which, I don't know if you know about medical problems, but there aren't too many cases where a problem happens symmetrically. In the cases where it does happen, there's usually a minute difference. Like, in my case, rheumatoid has affected both my hips, but it's not symmetrical because it affected one hip worse than the other. We work with very strange people. That's all I can say. Actually, not necessarily strange, but destabilized, I should say. Destabilized is the better version. Yes, we know, someone lied to you, this is indeed wrong, but you have only one person to blame, and of course, because you're in a panic, you don't mention that one person, who happens to be standing right next to me with the number 1. That aside, I will also apologize that we're starting up fairly late. It's been like 25 minutes after when I would normally. Reason being, I took a while to get up this morning. Need to get some coffee together, felt very sleepy, also had to toast up a bagel. Cinnamon raisin bagels and coffee are really nice. But yeah, by the time I finished, I was back here, and is that like 8:24-ish? At the end of the day, it doesn't take long to set up, but I will again apologize, because it's unprofessional starting up late. Sometimes it does happen, though, and it's unavoidable when it does. Yeah, you might also notice something else a little different with the sound mixing. I decided to poke around in the Emily settings, and I finally found the volume control. So yeah, I was able to up that shit, because let's face it, in the last several rounds of 999, you could barely hear it. On the bright side, the next time I head to a DS game, I have that setting tabbed, so it won't take long to fix my blunder. Such I'm not sure what the next DS game I might poke at would be. Because I know for the next project, that's Crystales, so that's going to be through Epic. Then after that, I've considered a second community pick. Though I want to do one more game in between, if that makes sense. Probably something short, because Crystales is going to take a while. I'm expecting it to be a 40-hour RPG, which means about 3 months, 4 months worth to cover everything within it. I've been looking forward to it. I have made sure not to spoil myself whatsoever. It's going to be a blind run. Guaranteed. Okay, I should correct, mostly blind, because technically I have played through about the first chapter, because Crystales appeared in Indie spring or summer of last year, I think. And I believe it also released that fall, too, so But yeah, aside from that, current plan for today's stream is finish up 999, maybe double check to make sure that there's that other burst of information in the other, in one of the other endings with the coffin. Then probably after that, transition into some Valheim, because it's my guilty pleasure as of late. I'm not gonna lie, Valheim caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I was. Contemplating the death of Not Snake, so I just realized there's a stealth joke there. About 2 snakes. Now, if only we had some Metal Gear. Then again, in some respect, you could say that Snake's arm counts as the Metal Gear in this case, but... no, prosthetics tend to be, like, hemi-plastics, and... I think polyurethane? Since I'm not sure how the technology has progressed within prosthetics. I wonder if we'll ever hit the point where, like, prosthetics will use some type of simulated biomuscle. You know, like, some type of tissue that acts like actual muscle tissue and, like, the body can help build, if that makes sense. Dead scanned, and now it's time to navigate the captain's quarters for the final time. Seek a navigation. It's taken precisely an hour 15 to get here. I hope we're here, cause... Oh, son of a bitch, I screwed up somewhere. I accidentally got accenting. I, missed a trigger somewhere, I think. Zaya! Hi! Welcome to the thing where we're doing all the Skippy because I screwed up the first time around, and ow! I deserve it. Ow! I deserve it more! I'm just gonna get eaten alive by Fiakuris. They're adorable. They're here to wreck your face. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, Zaya. And god damn it, I decide to go over to the Ravenhaven Discord, and thanks for the sippy sigh, I'll do that now. I decide to go over to the Ravenhaven Discord, and Kaoru's got like a little message with a submarine. How to know if someone's played 999. Ugh. Accurate. Just fucking accurate. You gotta play 10-10-10? Sure. I may consider it. Though by that question you're asking if I might, like, poke at Virtue's Last Reward, that one's going to be a hard maybe, because... the amount of shit that the game asks you to do... sorry. The amount of shit the game asks you to do is obscene. Especially since some of those branches, like, have barely any changes. And some of those branches that have barely any changes also affect the plot drastically. I'm pretty sure I've already mentioned a few times now that I've tried to go through it and lost my momentum halfway through, specifically because of how long it was. I might consider, like, showing a couple of the endings for it, but no way in hell I would, like, play the entirety of it, if that makes sense. I respect Virtue's Last Reward, I like it, but I also recognize when enough is enough. If it helps, no, you did not. Because the first time I did this, I slipped up. Around the point that 7 is supposed to have his epiphany and remember Ice 9 as a thing, I didn't let him remember, so... And I didn't realize it until I'd gotten the axe ending, so... Yeah, you missed nothing. You missed nothing. Listen to the song of my people. Thank you very much. Buy it on my SoundCloud. Talking about Alice, also known as the Woman of All Ice. I do actually kind of like how they handle that plot thread. It feels a little like a cop-out in some ways, but in others, it also makes sense.
Yeah!
Now we're finally in the new plot. They found door 9. It should also be mentioned that a lot of the bullshit, a lot of the weird shit, starts now. Because it's like, we have a whole bunch of bracelets that are labeled 1 through 9, right? What if I were to tell you that at least 2 or 3 of them aren't labeled with numbers? Or not in a conventional sense. Is your bracelet actually 2, or was it a 6? Yeah, one of the bigger points that should be brought up, now that we're here, the 0 bracelet doesn't operate like 0. Why is that? It's not a 0. Keep that in mind going forward. Because there are at least 2 other revelations that come up tied around letters posing as numbers. So the bracelet being an O, convert that through base 16. Also, Santa holding our girlfriend hostage. Junpei 7, grip and rip, fail. Why did Santa do that? It's not explained right now, but now that we're getting into the newer part of the story, we'll understand why. Its purpose wouldn't have been difficult to determine. Their eyes were almost immediately drawn to it.
Not another one.
Looks like it.
Do you think we have to put in the right password or it won't open?
I think so. The noise wasn't stopping. In fact, it was getting louder. They had no idea who was in the coffin, but they wanted out. Now. But what were they supposed to do? Without a passcode, it didn't seem like there was a lot they could do. They couldn't even tell how many numbers the passcode needed.
Isn't there a hint somewhere?
Let's look for one.
Unfortunately, there didn't seem to be anything near the coffin. Clover ran to examine the pews. 7 investigated the desk. Nothing. The sound wouldn't stop. It wasn't a noise that belonged in that room. What was the passcode? How was he supposed to figure it out? He needed something. The world blinked. And suddenly, there was a voice inside Junpei's head. Truth had gone, and truth had gone. Ah, now truth is asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand. What the hell was that? That voice? Junpei was confused, baffled.
What are you talking about?
What's up?
7 and Clover ran over, but Junpei didn't know what to tell them. If he told them he'd heard a voice, they'd laugh. Or worse, think he was going insane. So all he said was, nothing. He cleared his throat a little too loud, and looked pointedly at his bracelet. There was a pair of small buttons protruding from either side. Junpei pressed the buttons on the bracelet. Remember, truth had gone, and truth had gone. We'd already established that the left-hand road is what happens when the truth disappears. So right, left, right, left, right, left. If you get this wrong, you have to play through all the way back to here again. So don't fuck this up. There we go. Eight numbers blinked on, then off. Junpei checked one more time. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Huh? The hell were those numbers?
Wait, are those?
Junpei didn't answer. He just walked straight to the coffin. He knelt down in front of the keypad, running the numbers over in his head so he wouldn't forget. 14383421. 14383421. He punched them in. There was a moment of silence. Then, the sound of the coffin lid unlatching. Someone sat up. Oh, is that you, Clover? I apologize for worrying you. Snake!
How did you...
Junpei. Snake. And Seven. Is that you? Is everyone else there as well? Just like Rip Van Winkle. Still, it was very much like Snake to simply cut to the heart of the matter and ask. Junpei and Seven shared a wry smile. Clover's eyes were filled with tears.
You're back.
She leapt into Snake's arms. Gently now, my body's still a little weak. Clover looked like nothing so much as a lost child who'd finally found her way home. She cried. Eyes reddened, nose ran. She hiccuped, gasped, as if she were about to hyperventilate.
You're back. You're really here.
She was happy, but almost desperate, as if she feared he'd disappear again if she stopped talking to him. A tear after tremendous tear rolled its way down her face. Her arms strained as she clutched Snake's body as tightly as she could. Maybe she had to convince herself that he was real. Maybe she was worried he'd be gone the moment she let go. Maybe she simply didn't know what else to do. Come now, what's gotten into you? You're acting as though I've returned from the grave.
Not as though you did. I really thought you were dead. You jerk. You idiot.
Clover broke into sobs so great she could no longer talk. It was a touching reunion between brother and sister. But Junpei knew that they didn't have much time left. Every minute they wasted. It was cruel to pull them apart, but... Junpei and Seven sat down on one of the pews, waited for Clover to calm down, before explaining to Snake what had transpired. I see. I believe I understand things rather well now, thank you. In the shower room, there's a dead body wearing my clothes. Because of that, you thought I was dead, correct? He'd quickly and neatly summarized the events of several hours. Junpei nodded. You also discovered a corpse in the captain's quarters, and Santa turned on you here in this room. Do I have it straight? Seven had been rather surprised to learn of the dead body in the captain's quarters. With everything that had taken place, Junpei had simply forgot to mention. Well then, I've got a pretty decent idea of what happened while I was indisposed, but it's still something of a mystery who did all of this and why. The corpse in the shower room that looked like me, the corpse in the captain's quarters. Why were they killed in the way they were?
You don't know?
No. Why would I?
The guy in the shower room. Well, we don't know who he is, so let's just call him Mr. X. Anyway, this Mr. X is wearing Snake's clothes, but you're wearing some kind of weird robes. That means someone took your clothes and put them on Mr. X. We need to figure out who that was and stop them before they take over New Oak City.
I apologize, but I have no idea what New Oak City has to do with all of this. I only just now woke up. I was unconscious during all the events you just described. They may have undressed me and changed my clothes during that time.
Wait, so they saw you naked? A transformation sequence?
Yes.
What the fuck type of magical girl shit is this?
Probably Zero, yeah.
When you were knocked out?
When we split up to look for the red.
Where did they get...
Where did they get you? Do you remember? It was a small room in one of the hallways on C deck.
What happened?
The same thing that happened to every one of us when we were abducted. Can releasing some sort of gas thrown into the room. I believe the gas is some sort of incapacitating agent.
Then it was...
Zero.
Looks that way.
There's nothing else I can tell you. When I woke up, I was in this coffin. Junpei crossed his arms in thought. Why had Zero made Mr. X wear Snake's clothes, and stolen his Tommy gun? How had the results of that trick benefited Zero? It was a mystery. Junpei couldn't make sense of it. He also didn't have a satisfactory explanation for how he discerned the key code. It just didn't make sense. Truth had gone, and truth had gone? What did that mean? Did it mean anything? And why had Junpei felt compelled to push those buttons on his bracelet after hearing those words? Seven asked while they were waiting for Clover to finish crying, but he didn't have an answer then, and he still didn't now. All he could say was, it seemed to have been a subconscious reaction. His fingers just moved at their own accord. It was the only explanation that made sense, and it barely did. Junpei didn't know what any of it meant. His mind was a maelstrom of mysteries, clues, theories, and mysteries upon mysteries. He could barely think. And of course, Snake and Clover had been subject to a similar experiment 9 years ago. Something about morphogenetic fields, epiphany, and danger. There had been another experiment in the same ship 9 years ago. Someone had died during it. A girl. Morphogenetic field theory. The 2 murders. Switching clothes. The nonary game. And whatever strange thing was happening to Junpei himself. The maelstrom spat out words and ideas that disappeared back into it almost as soon as he grasped them. As he struggled through, Junpei realized something tied all of it together. Zero. The ringleader, the person who had trapped all 9 of them on this sinking ship. Zero knew everything. If they could uncover Zero's identity, all their questions could be answered. Who the hell was Zero? Junpei had the beginnings of a theory. If only he could test it, or maybe... At any rate, we'll have plenty of time to decipher the details later. For now, it is of utmost importance that we escape. Junpei, it was 4:30 the last time you checked the clock, yes? We have less than an hour. We must hurry.
Hey, how are we gonna get out of here?
Isn't that obvious? Through the other number 9 door.
Oh, right! With you, we can open the door!
Don't tell me you hadn't figured that out.
As they sniped back and forth, Junpei glanced at Snake's left hand. He was wearing a bracelet with a 2 on it.
Come on, you gotta tell me these things!
I, assumed you'd figure it out.
Forget it. Let's just get going.
7 stomped off toward the 9 door. The others followed. 7 laid his hands on the red. An asterisk appeared. Junpei and the others followed suit, laid their hands on the scanner panel. 4 asterisks on screen. 7 glanced at each of them, laid his hand on the red, and pulled the lever. But Junpei stopped him. Where did they get sniper rifles? Somewhere. Before we go in, I want to check something. You want to check something? Yeah, but before I do, 7, could you pull the lever? I want to make sure we can verify with just the 4 of us.
What do you mean? We don't need...
Just do it. If the door opens, don't go in. Please? This is really important. I need to check this. Work with me here.
Fine.
The 9 door creaked open. They waited 9 seconds. It closed. Okay, so the 4 of us can go into door 9.
So? We knew that already, it's obvious.
Sure, but what happens if we add Zero's bracelet?
What?
Zero's bracelet. Why don't you take it out, Clover? For a moment, Clover looked surprised, but she recovered, stuck her tongue out at Junpei.
So you did know I had it. I picked it up because I thought it might be useful.
She reached into one of the pockets of her jacket, produced a bracelet. Junpei took it, turned to 7. This was in the left hand of the corpse in the captain's quarters. If you look at it, you could see it's got a 0, right? Just to make this a little easier to talk about, I'm gonna call the guy we called in the captain's quarters Cap. If Cap was really 0, then we should be able to open door 9 with just me, Clover, and his bracelet. But more importantly, if you were Cap and this was your game, would you really put one of these bracelets on yourself? Let's just give it a shot. Clover, hand?
Okay.
Yes, that's Captain Crunch. It's Magellan himself. But again, the bracelet doesn't work. I thought so. So what does this tell us?
Maybe the bracelet has to be on your wrist in order for it to work?
No, actually. Did you see how the panel showed a third asterisk when I scanned Cap's bracelet? Whether or not it's on your wrist doesn't matter. All you have to do is put the bracelet near the panel for it to register. 7 waved his bracelet in front of the scanner. Sure enough, it registered.
Seems you're right.
See? So what does this mean? There's only one possibility. That bracelet isn't 0. Is that what you're saying? Exactly.
Then what number is it?
Well, let's find out. If I remember correctly, it's me, 7, and Cap that opens this door.
Hey, it opened!
What? Why? What does that mean?
7 and Clover were shaken, as they turned to look at Junpei for answers. The door slid shut. Junpei raised an eyebrow. Isn't it obvious? Captain's bracelet is 6.
But doesn't it say 0?
Well, what if this weren't a 0? What if it were, say, an O? A letter O?
Oh.
Wait a minute. I don't get it. We figured out Cap's bracelet is 6.
Yeah?
Then does that mean there are 2 people with 6?
Before Junpei could answer, Snake spoke up. There's most likely only one person with a 6.
But I don't get it. What about June?
This is only an educated guess, but June's number, I bet, was never 6 to begin with. Her bracelet was flipped. In other words, June
Was 9?
That seems most likely.
And all this numbered door stuff was just a load of crap?
Why would you say that?
Because if June is 9, none of the numbers match up.
Clover read each row out loud so Snake could follow.
I made a list of all the numbered doors June went through, which one she went and with who, and I also wrote down all the numbers. If you switch in 9 wherever there's a 6, it doesn't work. If the digital route is 7, you can't go through door 4. If the digital route is 2, you can't open door 8.
Clover, you notice anything interesting on that list?
What do you mean?
You're talking about 3, right? Santa's always been in the same room with her. That's what you're saying, right?
What about it?
That's quite simple. You told me the first time you came to this room, Santa was the first to refuse to leave June behind. Doesn't that beg the question why? Why would Santa do such a thing? The answer's simple. Santa can't open door 9 with only 7 and Lotus. There's only one reason for that. His number isn't 3. 7, would you be so kind as to modify my sister's equations?
Yeah, sure. This is what you're getting at, right?
That's exactly right, Seven. Santa's true number was 0.
No way. Santa is 0?
And June was 9, not 6. On the contrary, Santa was 0, not 3. Positive 3, negative 3, they cancel one another. Nothing appears out of the ordinary.
That means, even though the whole damn thing's set up, Santa was still playing by the rules of the nonary game the whole time.
Precisely.
So if you're saying Santa planned this whole thing,
I'm not sure if he acted alone, though. It's safe to conclude, at least, that he's 0, if my hypothesis is correct. Clover bit her lip. She seemed to be having some difficulty believing her brother's explanation. Junpei remained silent and thought. Snake's hypothesis didn't satisfy him. June's bracelet was flipped. Even if that were possible, there would have been 2 number 9 bracelets. And if that were the case... Alright, that's enough talking. Let's go. It's high time we went through that door. The guy with 9 was probably 3. Think back to that door for a moment. It was door 5 specifically. 9, 1... And he took Clover hostage, so 4. 9 plus 1 plus 4, 5. It would yield 5 for a digital root, right? If the 9 was actually a 3, then it wouldn't work. Because 3 plus 4 plus 1 would be 8. Yeah, he couldn't be 3. Because he wouldn't be able to go through the door in the first place. It would have stopped him. The dead was directly in front of them as they came through the door. They scanned their bracelets. After pausing for a moment to catch their breath, Junpei and his companions headed down the hallway. At the end was a set of stairs leading down into the ship. It looked as though they led all the way to the bottom deck. They looked down. It didn't seem to be flooded. After deciding it was safe, they headed down the stairs. Before long, they found themselves on the bottom deck. They turned left into another hallway, at the end of which they found another door. And of course, there was a symbol on the keyhole. A harpoon one would use to hunt fish, the kind with 3 prongs. Snake traced the shape. This is the Neptune symbol. There must be a key here somewhere. Neptune. All Junpei had was the Uranus key. Not the same planet, not the same sort of key. Probably wouldn't open this door. They examined the door for a few moments, gave up, headed back the way they'd come. With a little more searching, they found a metal door. Mars. And a Mars card reader. Or sorry, Uranus card reader. Oh, this is the place. It beeped once. The light turned green. With a heavy metal groan, the door creaked open. The 4 of them looked at one another, nodded, and stepped through.